corporate secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Take is our web show. Say hi. What's your number one program that you want to take care of?
First thing we got to do, we got to get the economy back on track. Inflation under control. We can't be having $4 gasoline. We can't be having groceries unaffordable. We got to get the economy working for all Montana together.
To the world-famous Octagon, flanked by UFC CEO Dana White, 45, soon to be 47, President-elect Donald Trump.
He did the Trump dance! He did the Trump dance!
Also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo.
Another good catch by SpaceX. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Just Our Take, episode number 105. We're glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here too. Hey, we're going to get started.
I'm glad you're here too, John.
My name is John, and this is my co-host, Dave. How you doing tonight, Dave?
I'm doing great. It's sunny in Seattle. Elon Musk is catching his old burners. What do you call that rocket thing? The rocket fuel burner. The booster. Life is good, John.
Sounds great. I wish I could say the same. I was out working in the yard Friday, must have been, and everything's fine. Doing my thing. Didn't notice anything different. Then Friday night comes around, and man, oh man, my legs and feet are itching. Wake up the next morning, there's all these dots all over them, and then they're itching and itching. I mean, I literally didn't sleep on Friday or Saturday night. I was attacked. I think it was a conspiracy, but I was attacked by something. And I literally, in the last 2 days, probably got about 3 or 4 hours sleep max. So not fun. Killer ants. You know, I have been bit by fire ants before. The thing is, when you get bit by a fire ant, you feel it, and then the sting goes away, and then this itch comes, and it lasts for about 5 or 6 days, and it's an itch that you will never in your life forget. This was really close to that itch. Anyway, so I am on meds right now. So this is going to be a very interesting experience. Keep me honest and keep me focused, if you will.
This is going to be great. Well, that's why it's called Just Our Take. So that if John says something really out there, just a little bit crazy, just remember it's just his opinions, just his point of view. You can not agree with him and he'll be okay with that. And so will I. Also, if he gets it wrong, that's fine. It happens sometimes. Just throw it in the comments. But John, I'm glad you're here in spite of all of that. Yeah, it can't be much fun. Hey, look, on a positive note, guess what? We now have a roof on our house again.
No way.
That sounds crazy to get excited about that, but it's been 5 months.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. Yes, we're at the home stretch. Literally, we'll be back in our home soon. I can hardly stand it. I'm so excited.
I can hardly stand it for you. Hey, no, I'm being sarcastic. I'm glad. I know what an absolute inconvenience that's been, and crazy. Although they were insurance did take care of you, got your rental house and everything like that. It's still not your home, and so hopefully,
I will say not sponsored by, but I will give a plug because Safeco actually took really good care of me. And while that was going on, all the firestorms in Southern California were happening. Same people that were taking care of me were trying to take care of people there too.
Wow.
And I heard some interesting stories from the adjusters, and they've lived through quite a time, but amazing insurance. If they don't drop me, I will be their customer forever.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I hinted. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I got some headlines, John. Now I didn't get a super long list, just long enough to say there's a lot of stuff going on.
I already forgot that it's Sunday and Sunday is headline day. So I apologize.
Well, and look, the reason why is just because of all the things to cover. There's so much. We got to be really kind of choosy, right? Because otherwise we'd be here nonstop for 24/7, which probably works for you in your schedule the last couple of days, but in general, not for anybody else. So like, I'll just read off a couple and then we'll get right into it. Trump is in perfect health, mentally and physically. He got a little flack for that because no one believes he's 224 pounds. China suspended rare earth mineral exports to the U.S. By the way, it's Good Friday and Easter coming up, in case anyone was not paying attention. It's also Passover. Let's see. Arizona purges. We'll talk about this a little bit. I think we're going to talk about elections. Arizona purges non-citizens from voter roll after a successful lawsuit against the state. Unbelievable. U.S. grants tariffs exemptions for electronics out of China and specifically smartphones. Real ID will be required to travel as of May 7th. So if you don't have a real ID, bring a passport to the airport. Bernie Sanders introduced Claro for her set at Coachella. Now, the way the news was presenting it, it's Bernie Sanders is at Coachella with this massive crowd, and then you find out it's actually a little more to it than that. Trump authorized, and you probably know more about this than I do, NSPM-4, which allowed the military to control a certain portion of land at the U.S.-Mexico border. If we do get into that, we can talk a little bit more about it. Very interesting, though. Jasmine Crockett is actually being investigated for fraudulent donations via Act Blue. Thought that was interesting. It was a rumor last week. Unfortunately, there's been 2 more aircraft crashes in New York over the weekend, which is horrible. Blue Origin, by the way, is on Monday is going to launch their version of whatever it is they're building, their rocket ship. They're only going to go to, I guess, to the outer atmosphere and then come back. So they're not going to actually go deep into space or do anything similar to what SpaceX is doing. But the thing here is that it's an all-female crew, including Katy Perry and a few other notable people, which I thought was really interesting. So I think my gut says they're doing that for some pictures and headlines. Okay, John, there's a lot more. I will stop there because otherwise it'll be half past the hour before I take a breath.
Putting Katy Perry on a rocket, what could possibly go wrong?
Well, insurance that nothing will go wrong. Thank you.
Good night. Okay. Well, thank you for the headlines. There's certainly a bunch to chew on there. We are going to touch on a couple of those items, and there's some that you didn't mention that are probably headlines of ours. I mentioned last week that producer Marie had given me heads up on a really interesting story. And so tonight, we're going to bring you that story. And this is about our Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts. Apparently, John Roberts has a secret, quote, friendship with a deep state attorney. You want to read that, Dave? And I don't need to scroll. If you could read that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I will do that. Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. is facing renewed scrutiny following a report detailing his previously undisclosed ties to Norm Eisen, a former Obama administration ethics official who has played a prominent role in legal efforts targeting President Trump. Prominent role, as in he helped justify for Congress the initial impeachment. He helped justify it. So that tells you how he feels about Trump. The report published by Revolver News alleges that Roberts and Eisen spent a week together in the Czech Republic, where they were said to have collaborated on issues related to the American rule of law. Eisen reportedly hosted Roberts at his sprawling 150-room, it says estate, but that's a palace, 150-room palace at a detail that has prompted sharp criticism from some corners and calls for Chief Justice to recuse himself from politically charged cases or stepped down.
I'm just going to put this out there because, when we want to try to be 100% accurate. I think when he was in the Czech Republic, he may have been a ambassador. Is that the?
He was an ambassador to the Czech Republic.
Ambassador. So I think that was the ambassador's palace. I don't think that was his palace.
That's correct. I think that's right also.
So let's be accurate in what we say here, because the rest of the stuff is pretty damning. He did write a book, by the way, called Trying Trump, and all about him and his actions trying to get Trump. Well, I just think it's interesting that John Roberts, our esteemed Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, is friends with him, and it might explain some things. You've got someone that is very, very, very anti-Trump hanging out with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Not a good look. I do have a quick little video here. Well, it's not quick at all, but we can cut it off whenever we want. And it has our good old buddy, and recently talking about he's recently talking about Trump and Trump things.
Of a new piece in Politico. Amid the growing battle between President Donald Trump and the courts, a once unthinkable question is harder to shrug off. Will the administration deliberately defy federal judges if it doesn't get what it wants? Norm Eisen is back with us.
Yeah, I think that goes to the heart of the question that we find ourselves in right now, Norm, and everybody's sort of sitting around. I referred to the other day, sort of with their popcorn, waiting to see when will Trump defy the courts. Well, he's already been doing that. I mean, effectively, and that's something that Judge Boasberg in the Venezuelan case has been frustrated with, noting, as he goes into their woefully insufficient response. Judge Boasberg wrote in a 3-page ruling that the government again evaded its obligations to provide information that he had been demanding for days about the timing of the Saturday flights. President Donald Trump had invoked the rarely used law to deport people the administration claimed were members of a Venezuelan gang deemed of foreign terrorist organizations, when individuals have been saying, I'm not. And of course, there's no due process in place for them to show that they're not.
I'm just going to stop it there for a second, because part of that, the law that he was using, and by the way, just because it's rarely used doesn't mean it's not a valid law. It is a valid law. It's still in the books. You want it off the books, have it repealed. But for now, it is still on the books. And so Trump can use it. Anyone else can use it. But just because it's rarely used doesn't mean it's valid. But according to that law, you don't have to have a court case. If you are deemed to be a insurrectionist, a terrorist, or enemy of the state, you can be deported. At the very least, these people are people that are not supposed to legally be in this state, in this country. So, it's funny how
but even beyond the specific topic of immigration, the concept in general, right? So, of being able to challenge a district court judge, for example, challenging the president's executive order on a federal level. And now when it does go to the Supreme Court, if you have somebody who is is biased, right? And the last thing you want, but unfortunately it probably happens more often throughout history than we like, having a biased judge serve on that court who is not a fan of the president. It taints justice.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think it was either the last show or the show before. When we get a ruling that we agree with, we tend to cheer and everyone's kind of happy about it. Hey, well, welcome. But the problem is, if it's not following the Constitution or following the laws written, then it's not a good ruling, even if it does rule in the favor that we believe in. And that's where we should all be honest arbiters of the law and say, if it's against the law, if it's against the Constitution, if it's repugnant to the Constitution, then it can't stand, regardless of whether it falls on our side or not. I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more. Let's hear what Mr. Eisen, and I say that while biting on my tongue, what Mr. Eisen has to say.
And yet the administration still has not done what the judge has asked them to do, and we're over a week now. How long does a judge go before somebody's behind winds up in jail for contempt?
Judge Boasberg is wisely building the record, Michael. Typically, what judges will do when there's an issue of contempt, is they will establish the wrongdoing, and then they give the wrongdoer a chance to correct. I was there in Donald Trump's criminal trial where he was convicted on those 34 felonies. I was there every day. I was covering it. The judge there gave him opportunity after opportunity to cure. Then he started elevating the pressure. He started finding him. Finally, he said, if you do it again, attacking witnesses in the case and others, if you do it again, I'm going to have no choice but to put you behind bars. And Donald Trump stopped.
So I'm just going to jump in here because it kind of goes to exactly what I said. Boasberg has been overturned finally. The Supreme Court has said that he did not have the right or the legal authority to put an injunction on the order that Trump put in there to deport these people. So rather than Eisen being an honest arbiter of the law and saying, I like Boasberg, he's a friend of mine, we go golfing on Sundays, instead of saying something like that and but I disagree with this one, he comes out and says, oh, he's building a case. And obviously, as we can see, and then he goes right back into when he was convicted on those 34 felonies, which we're going to find were just made up charges. They're not even going to be withheld or upheld on appeal. But this is the guy's bias here. Now,
he's on MSDNC. So
that's true. I thought that this was a good time, David, because one of the things that we did for those of you at home, David and I went through a quick exercise. Grok is a great piece of AI equipment. It is a great tool for you to use if you want to search out for more information on any subject. And it is very conversational, which is pretty cool. However, you have to be very careful about what you ask and how you ask it. Do you want to give it some examples, Dave?
Well, I was going to say, do you want to get into the example we used, which was Crossfire Hurricane?
Well, let's wrap this up and jump right into that. I'm sorry, I was thinking because this guy is doing exactly what we said Grok is doing. But we're going to come back to this one because I think that there's going to be more information that comes out because it's just now being re-exposed. So that article came out a little while ago in Revolver magazine. When Marie brought it to me, I asked her, do we trust Revolver? And so she did a deeper dive and found many others reporting the same thing, lots of reputable sources. So, we're not just going to take and run with the first source we get. We're going to try to follow up and make sure that there's some collaborating evidence. And in this case, there is.
There is.
Roberts is a buddy of Norm Eisen, who is a rabid anti-Trump lawyer.
Right. And if their political ideology is compatible, if they agree, they went away together for a week. Now, again, it was a couple of years ago, and who knows what they were actually discussing. But the fact is Roberts is associated with them. It's not a good look, John.
Look, you can have any friend you want, but if you're having friendships with somebody that's a rabid anti-Trumper, then when it comes time for you to rule on a Trump case, you need to recuse yourself. If
That's
there is
right.
impropriety or the appearance of impropriety,
Yeah.
that's why you would have to recuse. But he's not recusing himself from any of these.
Not at all. Hey, you made a comment. I want to hit on this really quick. You talked about if you don't like the law, then you got to change it, right? I'm simplifying what you said,
Yeah.
but essentially, if you don't, if you're not happy with the way the Constitution was written, some people say it's a 250-year-old document, and things have changed, and it's no longer. Do you know? Look around the world. Can you tell me which country? What's the oldest country in the world? Can you think of it? Oldest
China.
country in the world.
China.
I think it's Iran, actually, but China's an old country too, right? More than 1,000 years. And we know
Okay.
Putin told us Russia's more than 1,000 years old. And the United States is only 250 years old, yet it has across the world, it's the country with the oldest living constitution. So countries like, I think it's several countries I was going to name. I think back to Iran for a minute. I think they've had like 7 constitutions since the 80s. But it gives you an example. I'm sorry, not since the 80s, since earlier than that, but like 7 constitutions just in the last 60, 70 years. Think about it. 250 years, we're the only country that's got a constitution that's that old. Incredible.
It truly
Apparently,
is incredible.
What's that?
Sorry, I just said it is incredible.
Yeah, it just goes to tell you that even though you may question it, you may disagree, like personally, oh, it doesn't fit the narrative that I have. It doesn't fit my case. It doesn't help support me in the special circumstance that I have. But in general, in terms of a framework for how a country should govern itself, or restrict the federal government, actually, in this case, it looks like it's working. It's persisting for 250 years, oldest on record. I just wanted to get that in there. Okay. Where did you go
Real
ahead?
quickly, I just want to say, of the 55 delegates who attended the Constitutional Convention in 1787, the average age was 44 years old. So if you can imagine, some of the folks that wrote this, including James Madison, 36, Alexander Hamilton, 32, Benjamin Franklin, 81. But there were a lot of them in their 30s and 40s that wrote this thing. Pretty doggone smart for 30 and 40-year-olds.
And in their 20s. They were that's but I think the thing that your point is, these weren't people that were in their 80s and almost 90s in some cases. These weren't people that were suffering from cognitive decline, or we're trying to build their big cabal. No, these were people that were looking to establish a framework for how do you limit the powers of the federal government so that you can actually have a functioning country. It's amazing. Young people making bold decisions that still to this day stand. It's incredible.
And the youngest being Jonathan Dayton of New Jersey, who is 26 years old.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, what were you doing in your 20s?
Well, I will tell you, I had a pretty important job, and I think about people in their 20s doing what I was doing, and it scares me to death.
Well, yes, you were on a.
You really let me do that?
Yeah. Well, that's a thing. You think about what our founders had to endure in order for us to have what we have today. And if they knew how we were treating it, what would they say? Oh, you don't deserve it. I'm taking it back.
Right.
Okay. Lots to talk about. Do you want to talk about Crossfire Hurricane, or do you want to talk more about Roberts? Because there's other pictures that might show up at some point. We can pause and come back to that. Just hit that again in the future if you want.
Did you have anything else pertinent right now on that?
Not on Roberts, no.
I think that there's going to be more things that are going to come up within the next few weeks that will bring Roberts to the forefront again. So this was kind of one of those place markers. Let's put it out there. Let's remind you again in a couple weeks, because I believe from the bottom of my itchy toes that Roberts is going to be front and center here again very soon.
Yep, I agree with you.
All right. Yeah, so this week they released documents from yet another previous scandal, and that's Crossfire Hurricane. David, do you know what Crossfire Hurricane was?
Yeah, well, that's what Kash Patel named it, isn't it? Didn't he name it that, or was that
the FBI? The FBI
named
it.
The FBI named it. Yeah. So that's the investigation into the whole Russia elaborate conspiracy that showed in the end that it was an elaborate conspiracy.
Yeah, the Clinton campaign went to Perkins Coie, a law firm, who then went to doggone it, brain fog. Sorry, something GPS. What's the name of the company?
I don't remember. But go
anyway,
on.
And then they went to a ex English spy, and they went and got the what could they call today the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was filled with all kinds of slanderous and scandalous information about Donald Trump, with ladies of the night over in Russia, and saying that he was having flings with ladies of the night in Russia, and that they were doing really not just rude but very crude and disgusting things to and with him. And they said that they had proof of all of this. And when asked for the proof was never given. But they did have, they had signed the FISA warrants saying, we have this proof. We have it on good authority that this Steele person who wrote the dossier has firsthand knowledge, and that they took that information to the court. Well, then what they did was they released that same information from Richard Steele to the newspapers. And they're saying, see, further information. These newspapers are corroborating our information. So that's how they got the FISA warrants to spy on Trump and other Trump associates. So when Trump came out in the beginning of his first administration, said, they're spying on me, they tapping my phones.
And everyone said, you're crazy. No, really, they are.
Lunatic. Well, no, actually they were. And then if you remember Lisa Page and Strzok, they were two FBI agents, and they were not just FBI agents that were easily compromised. They were having an affair, and they were using government phones and email to give text messages back and forth. Okay, so Alice, I'm going to put this out there. The first story about Roberts being compromised still, or the potential of him being compromised, goes back to why we think that we need to clean up the judicial before we start putting these things out there for arrest. What happens if Roberts is compromised and we put these people up in front of the courts, and then it gets all the way up to the Supreme Court, and Roberts is a deciding vote and says, nope, we're not doing anything. These guys are innocent. Leave them alone. Then jeopardy applies, and you can never retry them for the crimes that they did. So I think that there's still some more that needs to be cleaned up before you start seeing these really big, high-value targets come before the courts. I could be wrong. That's just my take.
But I will say, I'm with you. And I agree with what you said, John. Like, they got to build the full case. They have to, it's not just about getting the arrest, which is what, we saw this. The law, it will be seen as lawfare. If you just bring an arrest and you don't have the case put together, and the case gets thrown out or gets, put on pause in any way, then it looks like lawfare. And, the left is really good at this. They're so good at pointing out, they will say lawfare, lawfare, lawfare. We told you, these Republicans, this is all they do. Meanwhile, that's what they did for the last 4 years, 5 years, 6 years with Trump. Unbelievable. We do not want the same mistake to happen twice.
Well, go ahead, Dave.
No, go ahead. What were we going to say?
I was just going to say that, Alice isn't the only one getting frustrated about there not being any arrests. We've seen over the weekend, we saw people like General Flynn coming out, and he's trying to put heat on Bondi and Kash Patel, saying, look, enough is enough. We got to start getting these people locked up. There were others that came out, and prominent figures out there saying, when do we start seeing arrests? So look, we're hearing it from all sides. People are wanting to see this stuff happen quick. It's not happening quick enough. We all can agree with that.
John, I know you know what today's date is, but I just want to remind ourselves, maybe I'm saying this for my own benefit here. It's only April 13th. It's not even been a full, 90 days since April 20th or January 20th. We're all eager for it because we know it's going to happen. I can hardly wait. But it will. I do have faith that it will happen.
I mean, think about it. Letitia James, who brought all of these fake charges against Trump, she's still in position. She is still a attorney general for the state, right? She's attorney general for the state. So with people like that still in place, it doesn't bode well to bring cases like this at this time. I know they're going to happen. I have complete and total faith that they will happen. But there are things being dropped slowly but surely. If you saw over the weekend, there's more information coming out about election fraud. And he's dropping little crumbs about election fraud. And there's more information coming every single day about the 2020 election. You had a story on that too, didn't you, Dave?
I do. But before we move on, because you hinted at this on the first, we were talking about Justice Roberts. So just as a little exercise, we said,
thank you.
Yeah, just as a little exercise, we said Grok, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of Grok now. I'm a little addicted to it. It's not good. It's not healthy. So we said, hey, we'd like to get a conservative point of view about your thoughts on the Crossfire Hurricane documents. And so I'm going to read you a conservative, and I'm going to read you a progressive, and then I'll read you one that is the left of the progressive. And I'm sure you can figure out which one is which.
So just to be clear, you asked Grok a question, and then you said, write it from a conservative point of view. And then the next time you said, write it from a progressive point of view.
Yes.
And these are the results. Okay.
Yes, these are the results. Okay, I'll just read the first paragraph, even though the whole thing's quite entertaining. The Crossfire Hurricane documents reveal a deeply flawed and politically motivated FBI investigation into alleged ties between Donald Trump's 2016 campaign and Russia, launched in July 2016 based on unverified claims about campaign aide George Papadopoulos. The probe relied heavily on the discredited Steele dossier, which was funded by the Democratic National Committee and contained unverified, uncorroborated information. Key points below include, I'll read the three top bullets: bias and misconduct, lack of evidence, and weaponization claims. Okay, that's clearly the conservative point of view. I'll read the next one here. The Crossfire Hurricane documents highlight the FBI's necessary response to credible concerns about potential Russian interference in the 2016 election and possible ties to Donald Trump's campaign, initiated in July 2016 after reports of George Papadopoulos boasting about Russia's offer of damaging Clinton material. The investigation was a prudent effort to safeguard national security. Key points include justified investigation, Russia threats confirmed, FBI integrity. Okay, now I'll read the third one to you. The Crossfire Hurricane documents expose a gut-wrenching truth. The FBI's investigation into Trump's 2016 campaign was a heroic but tragically underpowered stand against a vast, shadowy conspiracy tying Trump directly to Putin's Kremlin, kicked off by whispers of George Papadopoulos spilling Russian dirt to Australian diplomats. It was the system's desperate attempt to stop the Manchurian candidate from seizing power. Here's the and then here are the top 3 points. Trump as Russian puppet, FBI sabotaged, declassification hoax. There you go. I just thought that was fun. So, which one of those could have been on MSNBC or MSDNC?
I think that the point here is, if you're doing searches, be very careful, because the search engines have been loaded as well. At least with this one, you have the option of looking at it from different points of view. And I've heard some of those, like the conservative side, I've heard those words just about, verbatim used. And on the liberal side, I've heard those words, used. These people, they find what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah. And it's a great example. Anything, from any source, what is the headline? What are they saying? Do they back it up with evidence? Otherwise, it's just entertainment, maybe bad entertainment. Speaking of which, somebody was pointing to some clips with Whoopi Goldberg and Joyless Joy on the. Oh, it was Tulsi Gabbard on The View at one point. And she went out there just so she could set the record straight. And I was thinking, anyone who listens to them and says that's the news, just like we're not the news. But anyway, he goes to watches The View and says, I learned something new on the news today. They're just bad entertainers.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay.
I was just going to say it's important that we watch this Crossfire Hurricane document release. There's a ton of info that came out. Let's not forget that it was Strzok and Page who said that they had an insurance policy just in case Trump won. Their insurance policy was this dossier, and the dossier was saying that Donald Trump was having secret affairs with these Russian prostitutes, and I mean, none of it was real. And then, using that circular reporting where they have the person who made up the document, he himself was the one that was reporting to, and by the way, he was a FBI and CIA informant. And they knew that it wasn't real. And
they knew it wasn't real.
That's part of what's coming out in the Crossfire Hurricane documents. They knew this guy wasn't real. They knew that it wasn't real when they were bringing the FISA warrant request to the judge.
Yeah, which basically allowed them to then go and surveil the Trump and his campaign.
So the part that is almost undeniable is when they signed those warrant requests, they're swearing under oath, penalty of perjury, and all of those good things, that the above stated facts are true and accurate to the best of their knowledge. And there is now evidence that they were not true or accurate, and that they knew that they weren't. So now, at the very least, we can get them for perjury, but then what else can we get them for? And that's, I think, the case that's going to be built on those folks. There's the comment about that Marie made. I have my doubts that we'll be able to get to the depths of the deep state. This is disturbing. The Supreme Court, the end find word. The thing is, I think that the fact that we're talking about it, the fact that we know who some of these players are, the fact that we're finding out not just who the players are, but what they did, that is a huge step over what we had before, which people would say there's a deep state. And you're like, oh, you're one of those deep state conspiracy theorists.
Exactly. Oh, you're one of those crazy, wacko, super ultra right, crazy people. Well,
and by the way, all the conspiracy theory books can now be found in the current events section of the bookstore.
It's the prehistorian. So, so John, switching gears, but staying on the similar topic, but switching gears a little bit. There is some legislature right now passed Congress. It's called the SAVE Act. Are you familiar with it?
I am, but before you go there, can you folks at home do us a favor and hit that thumbs up button? Even if you hit the thumbs up button on the last show, hit it on this one. It'll send the message out, sends it out to the algorithm if there is such a thing. And it tells everybody, hey, wait, there's a show over there that people like. I should go see it too. So if you do us a favor and hit that thumbs up, that would be really awesome, no matter what app you're watching it on, because we are on YouTube, X, and Rumble, and we appreciate you guys doing that for us. So go ahead, Dave. The SAVE Act.
That's good. I never remember that. SAVE Act. Hold on. I want to read this. Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. Okay. I mean, that sounds pretty good, right? Basically, it passed Congress 220 votes to 208. There were a couple of Democrats who said also, this actually makes sense. And it would just require you to bring a real form of ID when you go to register to vote. So go ahead. I could see you wanted to comment.
No, I'm just.
Oh. So you got to bring a real ID, which could be your birth certificate. It could be your passport. It could be a real ID driver's license, but it's got to be the real ID version, which is verified. And, as a result of this, people are just up in arms. Oh my gosh. One of the biggest issues we face, first off, there's some parts of our population that can't get an ID. They don't have a computer. You remember that whole campaign? Which just makes me laugh still to this day with all the different, videos and memes that were made around it. But then beyond that, this is even worse. This is about suppressing women's rights to vote, because we know that women oftentimes change their name when they're married, and when they change their name, then their ID doesn't match anymore. And not everyone's got a birth certificate laying around. And so this was deliberately done to suppress women's rights to vote. Marie's asking, what's the stinking point of a real ID? John, you and I were talking about that. I don't know if you want to share your thoughts.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to share something that is I found today, and it's so close to near and dear to my heart that I thought I would share it with you. Comes to us from Clandestine over on X. I'm never a fan of government complicating my life even more, but I think this Real ID situation is the gateway to voter ID. Why? Because the blue states have been handing out driver's licenses to illegals. So a driver's license is not secure enough to use as voter ID. A Real ID requires confirmation of citizenship and residency, which would serve as a valid and secure form of ID to ensure only U.S. citizens are voting in U.S. elections. My guess, in the future, everyone will need a Real ID or other proof of citizenship in order to vote in U.S. elections, which I 100% support. Those claiming that this is some sort of Orwellian tracking operation or government overreach, I think is preposterous. We already are being tracked every second of every day via our cell phone, our cars, our computers, blah, blah, blah. Real ID is necessary because the Democrats made driver's license obtainable by illegals in their states. Real ID is the solution to a problem the Democrats created. So if they can steal elections. Ultimately, I think Real ID is about securing elections, hence why the Democrats hate it. So you see this push recently. I think Bondi came out and talked about it. I know that Tulsi Gabbard's talking about it. They're all doing a push. By the way, by May 6th, you have to have your Real ID. And at first I was like, no, I'm not doing it. No. And then I thought, well, I already have a passport. All that same information is already on the passport. So, okay.
And I think it's May 7th. John, you know how long, do you know when the Real ID, the legislature was first passed?
Oh, it's been a long time.
2005. So this can has been kicked down the road now for 20 years. And I don't know if it, could it have been kicked down the road another year and a half like it has been, through the last several presidencies? Probably. But now we're finally here. And that's exactly, by the way, the exact reason why is a driver's license issued by the state was not considered secure enough to be a real identification for federal purposes. And so therefore, sure, you can go get your California state driver's license. Great. Anybody can get one. But if you want to enter a government building, or at some point, if you want to fly, right, federal laws apply, then you need a Real ID. And yes, if you have a passport, you have a Real ID. You don't have a choice. So I'm a fan. Look, I got one several years ago when, they said, oh, it's going to happen. I got one right away. Didn't happen. It's been 5 years or 7 years, whatever it's been. But at one point, and maybe it's still true today, you can go back and forth across the Canadian border with the Real ID. I don't know if that's changed in the last few months, but that's the way it used to be. It was good enough.
And then Roger says mail-in ballots are the easiest way to cheat in elections. That's true, which is why I think there's a big push to in-person voting and in-person voting at Congress too. I just happen to have a wonderful little ditty here, no pun intended. Let me see if I can find the right article so I don't bring up the wrong one. Sorry. I'm working on it.
It says, I have a sound, and then it says I have it on the TV app and not the phone app. Oh, and then I see Scotty's talking about global entry and passport also works. Yeah, exactly. Global entry for Canada, you can use Nexus even, right? But global entry is beautiful also. But all of those are all verified forms of ID. And so the Real ID does the same thing. It validates that you actually are a citizen. Or I guess you can have a green card, but you have to be a citizen. Actually, I'll need to get my facts straight on that. Don't take that to the bank.
Let me toss this.
It does validate who you are.
So this one cracks me up, and you tell me where the problem is.
Tonight, they call it the house, but it's no place like home.
Not for young mothers. Scott McFarland shows you how one mom made the point with a tiny bundle of help.
I rise today with my newborn Sam, who's just 4 weeks old.
Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen stunned colleagues when she flew in from Colorado for a pivotal vote yesterday. Days before delivering, she warned CBS News Congress puts new moms in a jam.
Why do you say it's not made for people like you to serve?
Historically, it's been much more wealthy, older men who serve in Congress. This isn't designed for young families and for young women especially.
Centuries-old rules prohibit members from voting remotely. It was allowed during COVID, but some members accused each other of abusing it to travel or campaign. Pedersen and a bipartisan group that includes Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna are fighting for an exception for parental leave. Luna missed votes after giving birth in 2023.
It's not like I'm faking, to go party in Cabo, right? Like I'm actually trying to A, recover, but then B, also care for a newborn.
Is there any connection to the fact that for so long it's been men running the place?
1,000%.
36-year-old California Democrat Sarah Jacobs froze her eggs because of this unique professional hurdle.
I want to be able to represent my community and I want to be able to have a family, and it shouldn't be so hard to figure out how to do both.
House leaders have pushed back, questioning whether remote voting is constitutional. But the women hope to force a vote by spring to allow it for new moms and dads for generations to come. Scott McFarland, CBS News.
Okay. So she takes her baby onto the House floor to vote because it's really important. And now she's complaining that she can't vote in person because she has a baby. But she just voted in person with the baby.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. I'm not insensitive to it. And to, to Marie's point, mothers all across the world have to deal with this in other professions. But the deal is, if you could take your baby there to vote, then you can vote in person. The problem was there were people, and this has been happening more than just, around the COVID thing. There are people that will quote mail in their vote. They'll just say, yeah, I'm voting remotely. I'm going to vote for this. They may not even have any time ever to have listened to any of the debates, any of the floor discussion about it. They've never sat in committees about it because they're at home doing their thing. So maybe I don't want that person voting for it. If you don't know anything about what you're voting for, I don't want you voting for it.
Well, I agree. So I'm on the, my point of view is this. There are extenuating circumstances, and we have sophisticated technology today that should allow circumstances like the ones these mothers talked about. We should be able to allow. In my opinion, is we should be able to. But if we say that that's the norm, like outside of some of the special circumstances, and I know what you're going to say next is, well, what's a special circumstance? And we can call all kinds of things special circumstances. That's true. But we'll be reasonable for a minute and say there are circumstances that come up that would require somebody physically to not be able to be present. And if that's the case, can they vote? Are there other means for them to be able to give their vote? I think we can make some accommodations for that. That being said, if you are going to be an absentee representative, you're not going to be there, you're not listening, you're not paying attention, you can't figure out how to manage both things, then you probably should, again, David's opinion, like it or not, you need to make a choice. Which one of these two things is your highest priority? And that's where you need to go focus your time. It doesn't mean that you're not welcome. It doesn't mean you're not welcome back at some point, but it just means you need to prioritize whatever your highest priority is, or you need to figure out how to balance both. And by the way, we go through it every day at work. It happens. And it's not just about a mother having a child. There are other things that come up in people's lives that can cause them to have to not be able to be present the way that they're expected for a while. And sometimes you got to figure it out. And unfortunately, that is the way it is. You have to prioritize and you have to figure out how to balance it. But I do think there should be some reasonable accommodation. And 4 weeks old, like I would much prefer that the baby not travel or the mom. But that's just me.
Okay, so then that vote doesn't, so that person doesn't vote. The fact is, there have been people that have had surgeries.
Sure.
And because they were recovering from surgery, they didn't get to vote. If you remember, John McCain famously came on the floor after supposedly having brain surgery, and he did this.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, that is absolutely an outcome that you can say, and that's an outcome. That is a consequence of it. is that because you had to prioritize and you made the choice that you felt was right for you. And that was the choice, was to physically not be there. And therefore you don't get a right to cast a vote.
Here's the problem. I think that this is, and I hear what you're saying. I disagree with you, but I hear what you're saying. I think that there are times where you're going to see this become the slippery slope. And by the way, COVID was the perfect example of that. Oh, we have to stay home. We have to social distance and everything. Well, here we are 4 years later, and there's still people saying we need to social distance. I can't go in there. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. That's part of the requirement of the job. You can't do that. This is the way it's always been as long as I've had this job. So that's part of the problem. The other one is what happens next is my kid has a recital. My kid has piano practice. My kid has travel ball. My kid has.
Yeah.
And then at what point do you say, because now we're going to have these people standing up on the floor with their kids standing next to them with a dirty baseball uniform saying, I had to leave the field early so I could come, do this vote.
Hey, guess what? I would be quite comfortable with somebody showing up with their kid in Congress to make a vote. That's great. It's a good role model too, by the way. So, but you got to show up. And I think that's your point, is you got to show up. And
It's more than just the actual vote. And there was, what was the guy? He was running, he was a VP candidate years back, and he got caught having an affair on his boat with his name was John something or other. But he wrote a book and he talks about, this is how bad it gets anyway. He's out making a jog. He's doing his morning jog up in DC. He's running his 5-mile run. And all of a sudden a black sedan pulls up alongside him and says, get in, you got to vote. So he gets in his black sedan. This is in his boat, in his words. He gets in his black sedan, and they drive back to the Capitol. He, on his drive back, he says, what's the bill? They tell him the bill, and he goes, how am I voting? You're voting nay. So he goes in there in his tracksuit, runs up to the thing, and he says, my name is John, whatever, and I'm voting nay. And then he runs back out for the rest of his run. He had no idea what the bill was.
Right.
He just said the bill number, and that's it. Who the heck is it? Nope, they don't care. They don't care.
By the way, so it's disgusting and it's upsetting. It's not fair. It's not what the people who voted for them are asking for.
Exactly.
And by the bad news and the good news, the people from my state are pretty active. That's the good news. The bad news is what they're saying is absolutely the exact opposite of what I want them to do. But the good news is they're actually physically present. And I think that's, at a minimum, that should be a requirement. I get it. I don't know if a representative was meant to be a full-time job, but it is now a full-time job. So if you run for that role and you're elected to that role, you're in that role, you need to be present full-time and give it your full-time attention.
And
Even
I think
if I don't like the way you vote.
I think that's Marie's point here too. And it's more than just the vote itself, like you're saying. You need to be in those committee hearings. You need to be in the write-up discussions. You need to be in the markup, all of that, because otherwise you're just voting on someone else's bill. You have no idea what is in it. And then you end up being the Pelosi. We have to pass the bill to know what's in it.
Right.
Actually said.
She did say that. I remember. I'll never forget it. I thought it was a lie. And then I went back and I heard it. Like, there is no way you have a lawmaker. Was she Speaker of the House at the time? I think she was. You have to pass it to know what's in it. Unbelievable. But that just goes to show, like, how much do they care about when they say democracy? I don't know what they mean when they say we have to save democracy, because they're looking to save something that doesn't look like democracy to me. Yeah, and Alice makes a good point. I mean, how many times have we seen what's his name? The little guy, Musk's son, who's been hanging out with him?
Xavier is, I think, his name.
Xavier. The little guy's cute. He's all over the place. I mean, what an amazing experience. I don't know if he remembers it later, but so speaking of voting, John, so I let me share this. I'll add this to the stage here. So Arizona, by court order, will now, actually they were sued. State was sued and lost, and are now required to remove non-citizens from their voter roll. Can you imagine? They had to be sued. They had to lose the lawsuit in order to be forced to pull people from their voter roll. So all 15 Arizona counties now began the process of verifying and removing non-citizens from their voter rolls, including nearly 50,000 registrants who did not provide proof of citizenship. So I just think it's incredible that you have to sue to have them go and take the action of saying people that have not verified their citizenship need to be removed from your voter rolls until they can prove they're citizens. By the way, many of them, because this came up when they were going through ballots on live television. I don't know if you remember that. That was back when Kerry Lake lost and to Hobbs in the governor election. And they were going through all the voting, and they're like, look, all of these ballots all came from the one address, and some of them aren't signed. We know there were thousands that no one validated were these people citizens, and now here we are years later, they're being forced to remove them from the voter rolls. 50,000 votes, John. Kerry Lake lost by 17,000 votes in the last election to the former astronaut.
Yeah, he's a hero, though. Remember, don't forget, he's a hero.
He's a hero.
That's what they keep telling us. So how about this one? The other hero of Congress, your friend and mine. Well, she's got some words of wisdom for us. You ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
Also, you know, the other way I think you can think about it is that we are, you know, perhaps we are in the downfall of the broken way. This was not built to last. Inequity, injustice is not built to last. It lasts a long time. It could last hundreds of years, but ultimately it crumbles into this, you know, a small cohort of incompetent people that create damage. And from that, something new can spring. And so maybe something is declining right now, but maybe it deserves to decline.
It deserves to decline. It's on the decline. It's on the decline because the cabal is creating what's the word for it? It's dividing us in almost every topic and almost every state and all the big cities. And you know, if you go tick down the list of all the different ways that we've been told to hate each other over the last 6 or 7 years, and of course it's a decline. and now we're going to reverse that decline and get back to what we think this country should be made of. But she is just what did Ram
work?
She's a piece of work. Who was the shoot? I'm forgetting which senator said this, but is it she's the reason why they have instructions on the shampoo bottle?
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Kennedy said that. Or, yeah.
Oh man, that was funny.
I was watching the UFC with my daughter last night. It was fun daddy-daughter time. And before you start judging me for making my daughter watch such violence, she actually enjoys watching it. And she appreciates people that can practice the art of mixed martial arts. She knows that I used to be a martial arts instructor and how much of a passion it is for me. I don't like flailing. I don't like people slap biting. I don't like people brawling, but if there's some art to it, then I can appreciate it. But guess who was there? Yeah. You guessed it.
People love it. Well, he loves his mixed martial arts, right? I mean, he talks about watching these fight nights, but he is not.
I don't know how they keep it secure.
President Trump making his way to the octagon yet again for a massive UFC pay-per-view event.
Dave Portnoy.
I lost 10 to 15%.
Hey, watch this.
What was that about?
Oh, gender.
He just dissed her. I mean, that's what it looks like. Kid Rock.
All right, it goes on a little bit further. Interestingly enough, that part that looks like a disc, that was Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s wife.
Yeah.
I think her name is Cheryl Hines. She's an actress, a lifelong Democrat. And everyone's like, oh, he totally dissed her. He totally dissed her. There's another camera angle to it. I don't have it, but it's easily fine. You know, you can find it out there. From the angle that he was at, he was kind of blocked to see her. And like right after this happened, he goes back over there and he hugs both of them and has a little conversation with them. So it looks like a total diss. I mean, it did look pretty bad. She's like, well,
it's just like, what the heck?
I mean, she got
right here,
right?
Am
But
I
then
invisible?
he comes right back over and he gives her a big hug, and he's having a conversation with the two of them. And then throughout, he was having conversations with them. So you're going to see on the news, Trump disses Robert F. Kennedy. There's a rift. In the,
There's a rift. They hate each other. MAHA is dead.
That's because that's what they do. But speaking of MAHA, I don't have clips, I don't have advertisement, but I do have to tell you there's two things that I saw. Try to bring this on Wednesday's show. Again, in my current state, was not able to find the documentation on it, but there is a study, a large study, like 60,000 people in a health care organization in Chicago. And they gave these people the flu, you know, the yearly doop-de-doop. Trying not to keep us off of, or trying not to get us kicked off.
You're not allowed to say those words. Are those banned words?
Not on YouTube. Not on YouTube.
Gotcha.
You can't.
Okay. The boop-de-doop.
Yeah,
I know what that is now.
You know, they doop-de-doop. So they gave it's either 55,000 or 6,000. Again, I'll get the information, and then they tracked them. The people who refused it, these people didn't get sick at all. 27% of the people that got it, and again, this is just your average flu one, they ended up getting sick within 3 weeks.
Wow.
27%.
I told you my experience. So right? You remember that? I told you? Yeah.
Yep. But the thing is, these are not supposed to be active. I can't even say that word. Doop-de-doops. They're not supposed to be active in there. Okay, so there's another one that came out, and this one was rather interesting too. There's a conversation going on with Robert Kennedy Jr. and President Trump, and they're talking about the current rate of autism, how it was 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 36 across the country, 1 in 22 in California. So they're saying, what is how did this happen? And Robert Kennedy Jr. has committed to having that answer by September. Pretty interesting, huh?
Which is, by the way, the reason he can say confidently by September is because he already has a mountain of evidence. This, by the way, got in a heated debate with one of my children's about this. They are emphatic that it is that there is no connection between the two. And John, we all know that we just have better ways of detecting it today. And that 10, 20, 30 years ago, we couldn't detect autism as well. And so today we have a lot more science around it. We understand there's a spectrum, and we can start to be thoughtful about where people end up on the spectrum, and then what's the right support system that you need for depending on where you are on the spectrum. But I think it's easy to accept that than to say it's much harder to say, is the stuff that's been approved, and I don't have that image now, but it's like 72 different boop-a-doos that babies get before they're 1 year old. It's incredible. And it's not the same thing, like all these different things. Actually, my sister, I'll take her up on this. She's trying to introduce me to somebody who can actually speak more intelligently on this topic, and I'll save that for a future show. But what we give kids today is not what we had, or even my kids when they were young, what they got. And there appears to be very strong correlational evidence that says, as we give more boop-a-doos to these babies and young toddlers, the incident rate of autism has also climbed. And it's not just that we're smarter about detecting it now, it's that more children are actually, what's the word for it? Developing it.
So let me just throw this out here. I I can tell you my personal belief, and I'm not a medical professional and I don't pretend to be one, but my personal belief is that the numbers are up. However, I also know that what we're detecting and what we're calling under the spectrum, it's a spectrum now too. It's not just autism. It is It's like before, I don't think that we would have said Elon Musk has autism. I don't think we would have said that, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago. I think it's a more recent thing that they're saying he has, a mild form of Asperger's. I think that there's many different types of, and so they're putting all of these things under the same umbrella. So that could cause the number to rise as well. But it doesn't mean we don't look into it and try to figure out what the heck is going on. And that's where I think we're going to find some information that might just open our eyes up to quite a few things. So
what I was saying before is I believe the reason why he said confidently September is because he's been studying this now for decades. It's not a new topic for him. He's got a mountain of evidence, and now it's going to take some time to organize that to be able to present it in a way to the common person, right? So that you and I can read it and understand it, and not get lost in all the data tables and the jargon that is not common for us.
Hey, there's a clip that I want you to play. It's under our quick hits headings. It's Chris Matthews Has No Idea. Unfortunately, it is an Instagram, and so it's not easy for me to get to. But if you could get that one, that would be awesome. It just shows the level of intelligence of our wonderful Chris Matthews and everything that he represents.
So, my friend, I don't see it, but also Instagram doesn't like me, but what's it called again? Sorry.
Chris Matthews Has No Idea.
Okay, hold on. I found it.
Okay.
I found it. Let me see.
It's so much fun.
Let me see. Now, to play this, I have to unmute it. Oh, I can stop it. Hold. Let's see. Where's the unmute it? There it is. Now, as you know, with Instagram, with Instagram, you can't, there's no little bar so you can fast forward or rewind. So you got to live with the whole thing.
Love that. Wood. Are we going to make more wood in this country because of our trade deal? I don't think so.
Look, most of us have heard the phrase that money doesn't grow on trees. But do you know what does grow on trees? Wood. Wood is trees. The United States has approximately 800 million acres of forest land, which covers about 1/3 of the country's total land area. Chris Matthews is over here on MSNBC. What? Are we just going to grow trees now? Yes, Chris. That's literally how it works. Let me explain where trees come from. You have a mommy tree and a daddy tree, and when they love each other, they have a special hug. I'm not sure MSNBC knows where wood comes from.
You see, we get so much of our lumber, our 2x4s from Canada. What is our plan now? Oh, we're not going to import wood, so we're going to make more wood? A wood's example of that. Wood. Are we going to make more wood in this country because of our trade deal? I don't think so.
What a complete idiot. This guy cracks me up. You should like and subscribe. He's funny.
Right. Isn't that great?
What are we going to make more wood now? What are we going to do? Make wood?
I have another one for you. So every time we're showing these protests, there's a couple of things. Yeah, it's about the trees. That's right. Every time we watch these protests, we get frustrated. We get frustrated. Folks at home get frustrated. And, they're either carrying the Mexican flag saying, "Don't deport us." It's like, well, you're carrying the flag of the country you came from. Why don't you love that country? I mean,
yeah.
And then we see all of these illegals going out and blocking freeways and blocking streets and whatever. And we're like, well, where's ICE? Oh, are you ready?
You asked for it.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, or what you gonna do? Or what you gonna do when they come for you? Bad boys, what you gonna
In Colorado, ICE showed up at a protest, and they did exactly that. They went out and arrested the clowns that were blocking the freeway.
Which is what which is what they should do. Don't allow. Look, I'm all for your protesting. You want to protest? God bless you. You're in the right country for it. There are just a few rules. One of them is you can't be in the freeway. And if you are in the freeway and you get hit, you can't get mad at anybody. And also you owe money if you dent a car. That's a great clip. Speaking of military, let me see if I can find this one really quick. I mentioned in one of the headlines that our military is now securing a portion of our border. And it's a little bit more to that. Oh shoot, where did I do it? It's a fun one. Oh, I found it. So they're securing a portion of our border, and I think it's about a 60-foot wide zone that is now considered it's public land, 60-foot wide, that is now considered a military zone, and the military is patrolling it.
Covers California, Arizona, and New Mexico.
And New Mexico, right? It's for real.
And we like the partnership we have. We think we have a good working relationship.
I'm gonna try to come across. It's too tight. So
Nice.
I mean, what do you do when you believe that the state is not going to do their job to protect the border? Well, you still owe it to the citizens to the people in this country. You owe it to us to go protect our border, and that's what the president is doing. So
yeah, and the way that he did it, the states can't come back and say you're not allowed to operate on our part. No, this is now part of a military zone.
Right, it's part of the military zone.
I'm going to jump back to Roger's point for just a second, David.
Yeah.
He says the important part is that we have fewer loggers and fewer sawmills to produce the lumber. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I will tell you that this came up when when Ryan Zinke was running for Congress. People were asking about that. They were also asking about, can we drill and dig for coal on some of these, I think they were saying the Lakota lands. So that would be on the reservation. The reservations are actually open to it because they would be great funding for them. And so that was one of the areas that they were trying to get done. And yeah, it is an industry that we would have to rebuild. I remember growing up, driving up from Southern California up in through Oregon, Washington, and up into Canada. And all along the way, there's logging trucks, there's loggers. There's still a lot of logging industry happening over in Idaho. It's not happening anywhere near at the level that it used to and that it could. And again, you don't have to clear cut anymore. They've found much better ways to do that. And so, yeah, to your point, Roger, 100%. And I think that there is plenty of lumber here. We need to find the people to get that lumber out of the forest and also get it milled. And I think, again, how about that? More jobs.
More jobs, more industry. And I am far from having any level of expertise in this topic, but talking to a ranger in Oregon a few years back, about maybe 9-10 years ago, they were explaining how the whole process works. It's like a farming, right? I mean, you have these sections that they're planted, they grow, and they're at different rates. And over time, you choose where you're going to go harvest. And so you actually you're harvesting and planting and harvesting and planting. And when you do it the right way, then you have a sustainable process. And I said, okay, because my first concern was you're chopping down all of the trees. I happen to love trees, except when they're in my house. You're chopping down all the trees. This is not okay. And that's when it was explained. And I said, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that you can have a lumber industry and not destroy your country. Oh, it's fascinating. Why don't we do more of that?
Yep. David, here's a clip that you put out there for us. I want to share this one. Did you see the clown that decided he was going to throw a pie in the face of one of the Elon Musk's robots?
He's so smart.
Yeah, genius level.
I just threw a pie into the face of a Tesla robot. Because these ridiculous, shiny gimmicks will not distract from the fact that Tesla is destroying our livelihoods. The tech giant is spearheaded by the Hitler salute fascist Elon Musk. He can buy out parties and is actively trying to bring Nazis back to power in Germany. 80 years ago, we had Nazi military industry, and now it's mega corporations like Tesla. On the platform X, Musk and his AfD friends spread their fascist propaganda. All of this agitation and lust for power we will encounter with a peaceful democratic revolution.
Perfect. You read that script verbatim. Nicely done.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just have to wonder, like, well, maybe he's paid. He might be paid. We know some of them are, but I just put a pie in the face of a robot. Like, we just start there at those shiny things. Okay. So speaking of,
wait, before you move on, because this is part of the same thing. There's an actress. I'm going to find the actress and the video of her talking about it, but she turned in her shiny Tesla because she wanted nothing to do with that National Socialist anymore. Yeah. She turned it in and she bought a Volkswagen.
I remember. That's so great. Oh, wait.
Sorry, where the Volkswagens come from?
Who wants to tell her?
Volkswagen. Yeah, don't tell her. No.
Who wants to tell her?
Oh my gosh, it must, and it's not even AOC that did it. So.
It wasn't AOC, no, but it just goes to show you that, okay, literally, I think it's the Cybertruck and one of the other models. It's 100% made in the US. And then the other ones, of course, are made in the US and other places as well. But it is one of the few vehicles that like 100% of it is actually manufactured and assembled in the United States. But yeah. Hey, so you spoke of Musk. We haven't talked about Doge for a bit. Is it okay if I spend a second there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll so yeah, I don't know if you know this, but there's still protests going on. I am a bit of an antagonist. So I did actually, not this one here, but because this is from the news, but I did drive into the driveway past like a 9-person protest just because I wanted to do it. I'm not looking to buy a new car, but I just wanted them to see me pulling into the lot. Anyways, these are still going on. I'll let this clip play out, but it's a longer clip, so we're not going to play the whole thing, but I do want to show you there's some interesting findings and an update from Musk.
Democrats continue to protest against Elon Musk and Doge. The department has been delivering, identifying millions of dollars in waste that it's getting cut. And what Doge continues to find is absolutely insane. Doge revealed today that millions of dollars in unemployment insurance claims have gone to fake people who aren't even born yet. An initial review found that since 2020, almost 10,000 people whose birth dates aren't for another 15 years have claimed almost $70 million in benefits, which are administered by state governments. In one case reported by Doge, a person whose birthday was listed in the year 2154 claimed more than $40,000. I mean, what a scam. Elon Musk tweeted, "Your tax dollars were going to pay fraudulent unemployment claims for fake people born in the future." And the waste doesn't stop there. This comes after we've already seen the receipts of the millions of dollars wasted in DEI projects overseas. And right now, Doge is getting to work inside the Department of Defense. Pete Hegseth has revealed more than $5 billion in Defense Department contracts is being cut.
It's a big deal. We'll save him for later, but basically he says we're cutting billions of dollars of contractors that have not delivered on things, and they've been in place for years. But states, you have 70 million. I thought she said 17 million, but it's $70 million of unemployment being paid out to people that are not even born yet. Like, you should be saying thank you instead of holding up a anti-Doge sign. I'm like, you people are nuts. How do you not just say thank you? And by the way, he doesn't get any of this money.
Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat House Leader Hakeem Jeffries calls Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth A dumb effing individual then vows to get him fired. Okay. Well, have you looked at your colleague who believes that if we put more military equipment on Guam, it will capsize?
Yeah.
I mean,
remember that.
you might want to start there.
Yeah. I remember that clip. I still couldn't believe it. He was serious. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries. It's time to pull the fire alarm on this one, Hakeem. Unintended.
So I want to show you something. This is a little video. It's again, my history. I did work for a company that did we did battery, solar, and printed light sales. I'm a fan of solar once it comes around. I'm a fan of safe lithium batteries because I think there's a great call for them. I'm not a fan of rushing into any of this. And so there was a battery facility, and this battery facility, let me just pull it up real quick. Sorry. The very eco-friendly, anti-global warming North Asher battery recycling plant just blew up. Millions of toxins were released to the equivalent of 1,000 trucks with poorly tuned diesels driving nonstop for 10 years. So let's just pull that video up. You won't believe it. It's kind of gross.
Wow. Where is this again, John?
Okay. I'm just going to say, if this is happening in my backyard, I'm not standing outside to watch it. It's not a fireworks show.
No, that looks. Sorry, where was that again? That happened?
I don't get it. It just says North Asher.
Okay, wow,
and it was on the 11th.
Yeah, that is one of the questions, right? As some of the cars, electric vehicles start to age, and the batteries now need to be refreshed, replaced. Somehow, the old batteries have to be recycled, and that is the tricky part of this equation, I guess. There are ways to do it, but there are not enough. I guess there's not enough of them, and the way you do it is not necessarily eco-friendly either. So the whole thing is kind of a hot mess. But the more and more of these cars that are on the road, the more and more that we're going to have to figure out, how do you recycle and dispose of these?
So I want to touch base back here in the chat. Alice said, do you remember more logging closing in Oregon, closing because of the spotted owl? My cousin lost their job. And then Will says his dad lost the job because of the owl. And then as it turned out, we find that the owl wasn't really there or wasn't really endangered. Then there was, in California, there was a gigantic development that was going in near a freeway outside of Los Angeles, and it was stopped because of a kangaroo rat. And it was stopped for 25 years because of this kangaroo rat. And a gentleman, and I use that term loosely, the gentleman on his deathbed said, that whole kangaroo rat thing, I made it up. I didn't want them building houses in my backyard. So I found a kangaroo rat nest and I brought it to the area and then I showed it to the environmentalists.
Wow.
Yeah. One kangaroo rat stopped that development for 25 years. And I'm talking thousands of homes. So
that's incredible.
But they saved the rat.
Well, he saved his views. Fraud, waste, and abuse all over the place.
Was another
all right,
one.
Mr. John.
I have another video of, are you ready to go with one?
No, go.
Okay. Because this is.
I like yours. I had a few others, but they were from earlier topics, so we're not going to go backwards. So now I'm eager to see what you have.
It's the quick hit. It's the quick hit section. So
the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay, so I put that out there because this is a precursor to everyone coming out and saying, enough is enough. We want to see the goods. It's time. So we're hoping that this is going to be, this one actually was recycled because of that very reason. It's time that we start seeing some of these names. And then I think to our previous conversations, there are going to be some of these secondary and tertiary names that are going to come up and they're going to become forefront. And those people are going to be arrested if they haven't already, or they will be indicted. There's going to be claims of indictment out there. And then when that happens, I think you're going to start seeing those people flipping on other people. Here's what I'm predicting. John's predicting this. And by the way, I made a prediction very similar to this prediction on another platform. And I got that platform banned until April 18th because I made a prediction close to this. But
you're banned. That's why you should have said the boop-a-doo is not going to be working, and then you'd have been fine.
The boop-a-doo. So my prediction is that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be resigning or telling you that they're not going to run for re-election. I think there's going to be a ton of executives and or people in high organizations, possibly even within the government, that are going to be resigning, and there's going to be a lot of vacancies. So polish up that resume, folks. If you got a clean background and you can pass a background check, I think that those things are going to start showing up. I think it's going to be fun. Also, and but wait, there's more. I think that we're going to start seeing some counter to that, and that's where it starts to get a little dicey. On Wednesday's show, we'll bring up some more of these things. David, remind me, you are going to be on Wednesday's show?
I will be here Wednesday. It's the following week.
Okay. So on Wednesday's show, we're going to bring up a little bit about potential fallout and some of the things that I got kicked off another platform for. Because why not, right?
You will need to find some ways to express the same thoughts, but words that aren't offensive, apparently.
You know, the problem is on that platform, there's a lot of people that will spell out the word. And so you got to have a pad of paper. It's like, what? Just carry the one. Oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, that platform is still trying to figure out how to be a going concern in the United States after, another 90-day reprieve. So they're going to try to be on their best behavior.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I've got another video I want to show you. This one's not a bright and cheery video. This is a video that we've shown you before. I'm going to show it again because I think we may be getting closer to this. We'll have a brief discussion after the video because this may confuse some folks that have not seen it here on the Just Our Take show before.
Oh, yes. So good. How dramatic.
Okay. So that was at the George H.W. Bush funeral. And apparently there were some people that received an envelope, and inside the envelope there was some sort of a card. Yeah, exactly. Inside the card, and it looked like the Bidens got it, the Clintons got it, the
Bushes.
Clintons got it, the Bushes got it, and the Cheneys got it, and so did Pence. Did you see how Jimmy Carter was perplexed that he didn't get it? He maybe thought it was a party, after party or something, an invitation to an after party or whatever. And good night, Will. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. So he's really upset that he didn't get it. He's looking all over. He's turning the page. Hey, I didn't get one. So the question is, what could have been on that piece of paper? What could have been in the card? Why was it only given to those people? And the speculation is, now here's the key part of it. Laura Bush, when she got it, it upset her enough that she flips the page over to Jeb. Jeb looks at it, and within 2 seconds of seeing whatever it was, he drops his hand from his heart and shakes his head. It upset him.
Right. I'm dying to know what it is.
I wonder if we ever will.
Is it a picture? Is it a picture of them or one of them in some compromised position? Although I don't know if she'd share it if it was. Or is it just we know it's whatever it was specific enough where she got it quickly, was horrified by it, and so was he. Yeah.
Maybe it was a handwritten note. I don't think, some people have said it was a handwritten note from George H.W. Bush saying they have it all, or I'm sorry, I tried to protect you, or something like that.
I think it's
the problem is I think it's a picture. The reaction's too quick and the reaction's too visceral. When you look at the reaction of Jeb, that tells the story right there. It's got to be something very shocking. It's got to be something that is easily identifiable. And immediately cut to the core. So, but again, you go back and you see who got it and who didn't get it.
Right.
That should tell you a little bit more about what it is too. Carter's like, I want one. Can I have one too? Can I borrow yours? And of course, Trump didn't get one.
Well,
the expectation is that they wouldn't want him at the party anyway.
Exactly. We don't want your kind at our party anyways. 34 count villain.
We'll keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we'll get at some point some information on that. So
yeah, definitely.
What are you thinking, Dave? Anything else you want to drop for the good of the order?
I was going to show a couple clips here, but I will call it a night. I was going to say Trump was expressing, happy Passover, have a good Passover. He's explaining the origins of Passover and the Exodus from Egypt, the whole bit. And then it just reminded me of, I will play this one just for fun. It reminded me of when Kamala Harris and Dougie were wishing everyone a happy Hanukkah, and just the contrast between Trump, who understands the holiday and speaks about it fluently and remarks, and then this is what you got from Kamala and Dougie.
Hey everybody, we're here to talk about one of our favorite holidays in our big modern family,
Hanukkah.
And why do you love Hanukkah?
I love Hanukkah because it really is about the light and bringing light where there has been darkness. And there is so much work to be done in the world to bring light. And it is a celebration of always Tikkun Olam, which is about fighting for justice and fighting for the dignity of all people. And it's about rededication.
And it's about joy.
And it's about joy.
And it's about spreading joy around the world and sharing it with your family and your friends and your neighbors and your community. That's important right now.
So that's what we are doing, is to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah. And to your family from ours, we wish you all the best.
Now I'm going to contrast that. I will play the other one now because I started it. I'm going to finish it. So it's about light, and I'm sure they did that in one take, right? I'm sure of it that they said, look, we only have a couple minutes. Doug's probably like, I'm so annoyed, I don't want to do this, but then they went and did it anyways. And okay, so here, let me just contrast that with current President Trump. Oops, wrong button. Come on, Scott, faster, get on it.
I want to wish the Jewish people in America and Israel and all around the world a very happy Passover. Every year at this time, Jewish families celebrate God's liberation of the ancient Israelites from slavery in Egypt, guiding them through the prophet Moses on a 40-year journey to a very, very promised land. The story of Exodus, which is retold around the globe and all over the world at every Passover Seder, is a reminder not only of the enduring strength of the Jewish people, but of the importance of putting our faith in Almighty God no matter what the circumstance. To all the Jewish families gathering with friends and loved ones this week, have a blessed Passover, and may God continue to watch over the Jewish people, the state of Israel, and the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Now, by the way, he also did if you're wondering about Easter and Good Friday, there's a whole other section on that. But my point is, even if he didn't know it personally, which I'm sure he does, but let's just say he didn't, and somebody wrote it all out and put it on the teleprompter for him, he had the decency to stop and say, let me make sure I get this right so I can connect with people, versus Kamala and Dougie were like, it's about light. No idea.
Well, let's remember when Kamala was talking about AI. So let's talk about AI. AI is 2 letters. And
A, and it's an
computers. There's an A and an I, and that's artificial intelligence. It's about computers.
My favorite is she goes, it's in the cloud, which is up there. Anyways, I just thought, you know what? When I heard, I listened to it, and I thought he probably knows it, and he'd probably throw a few tremenduses and it's big in there if he were doing this without a little bit of pre-work. But the point is, he cares enough to make the statement accurate and deep and personal and meaning, like he's meaningfully trying to connect with people. And then there's the other one who's like, crap, we got to put something out about Hanukkah. All right, let's just do this. Let's do it quick. Let's get it over with. So,
and to the point, David, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And, to many religions, this is the High Holy Weeks, Holy Week. Sorry. It's very important to many, many people.
Yeah.
And so whatever you're doing this week, if you are celebrating in your way, we wish you a blessed week. And I will tell you an interesting fun fact, because we like to bring the fun facts. It was 1993 years ago today. 1993 years ago today, which was the first true Palm Sunday. How about that?
I would have lost that trivia quiz. So thank you.
1993 years, just by the way, which is only 7 years away from the year 2000 years from then. So you can make your own inferences
Ask
from
me
that.
in 7 years and I will know the answer.
We'll touch that one. Hey guys, thanks for being with us tonight. We appreciate you guys very much. If you haven't done so already, hit the thumbs up. If you're not a follower of the Just Our Take Show, please do that. I want to just bring you one last thing, and that is we appreciate our sponsor. Our sponsor is Steel Rebel Design. Steel Rebel Design makes all the hats, shirts, hoodies, cups, you name it, they do it. If it's got our logo on it. It came from Steel Rebel Design. And tonight we're going to share with you our fight shirt. This is the fight shirt. It's got the iconic Trump fight where he's raising his hand after being almost unalived at Butler, PA. And on the sleeve of this, it has the Just Our Take logo. On the other sleeve, it has a QR code, so you can be sure to share the show with your friends when you wear it. So all of these are available at the Steel Rebel Design website. You can find the link to their show or to their website down below in the show notes. I know I'm trying. I'm on meds. What can I say?
Or their show, either one.
Steel Rebel Design. Thank you very much for helping us out. If you use the code Just Our Take at checkout, they'll give you a 10% discount. We appreciate you guys. Have a blessed Palm Sunday, everyone. And we will see you on Wednesday. Good night, David.
Good night, all.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
Making back to you.